Welcome in, welcome back, welcome to Stream-of-Unconsciousness, where the subject's made up and the words don't matter. Today we're going to be covering a little more of the HIYA Toys Star Trek line. As you can see, we've clearly got displayed here Kirk and Spock from that line, in front of some other display pieces that I've got, some of them which I've made. Normally I would have gone with McCoy to complete the, the trio that people always associate with Star Trek. But I really wanted to have all three department colors represented in the collection before I did that. So instead, I went with Mr. Scott. The HIYA Toys Exquisite Mini of Mr. Scott. You might ask, well, why not Uhura? She wore red. And the reason for that is they haven't come out with one of her yet. Considering the way that the articulation is done, I'm wondering if there might be issues with leg articulation without pants. So anyway, here's the Mr. Scotty. The card art, again, features Chris Pine's Captain Kirk, but does have the figure's name on the box. Shows the prototype fixtures on the back. Now, I will say about this, both the prototype and the final version, I don't think they nailed the portrait. It just doesn't look like Simon Pegg to me in either version. Another interesting thing is that for the Kirk and Spock figures, they actually came sans belt. The belt was in a separate compartment on the tray, whereas this has the belt already in place, which I find interesting. A couple other things we'll go into as I open it. What was the exciting part? Sort of a review / unboxing video. Sort of a Revoxing video, if you will. Carefully, slowly, carefully. I've obviously decided that I need to go to the emergency room this morning, by the way that I'm opening this. Again, I'm not being... Because the only difference between the card is the picture of the prototype and the name on the front, I'm not really saving these cards. I kind of wish that they had decided to do different card art this style for each character, but if wishes were horses, they would probably cut plastic better. Come on, there we go. There we go. And again, it's got the double tray. Set that aside. Got the double tray. The first tray with a cover contains the figure, his phaser, his communicator, his replacement hands. Secondary tray, again, in this instance, would usually have the connectors for the base itself, and another little tray in the middle with a cover on it for the belt, which they included on the figure this time already in place. I wonder, I don't know, I didn't do any research on when if these were released in waves, so I would have to wonder if the reason for that would be complaints that the belt was a pain in the ass to get on the figure. So here we are, Mr. Scotty released. Same articulation as the others. You got bend and swivel elbows. Swiveling hands, they can move a tiny bit because they're on a small peg. Simon Pegg, small peg. Anyway, the head swivels and does bend a little bit. There is some articulation inside the chest that you can feel inside the soft tunic. It twists at the waist, bends at the waist slightly. The hips are double jointed. So they swivel, they go out, and they also drop. Same with the shoulders a bit. I'm not getting as much movement out of those. I would like. That joint might be a little frozen. Swivel at the top of the boots, which I drop below the camera so you can see it. And again, the rockers on the feet, which again with this particular set of figures, I'm not completely thrilled with, just because it feels like the joint is very fragile. Soft tunic covering internal mechanisms. Yeah. In the replacement hands, he's got a fisted hand for the left hand. We'll put him there for a second so I can actually grab these. A fisted left hand replacement. And a right hand designed to hold his phaser. The phaser itself is exactly the same as one of the other figures. But good sculpt on that. I don't know if we've ever actually covered that. It's a good sculpt on the phaser. Fits very snugly into the belt. There we go. Fits very snugly into the belt. And the cell phone, sorry, just kidding. The communicator closed, obviously. Does have a little Delta shield on it, as the others do, which also fits very, very snugly into the belt. There we go. Fortunately for collectors and people that like to rearrange things when they pose them, the phaser pocket on the belt does have a hole in the bottom of it, which, you know, probably was for molding reasons, but also helps you if you need to get like a dull pin or something in there and push the communicator back out, because it fits in there very snugly. But so we'll free the base. I said we will free, there we go. We'll free the base. And each figure has holes for the peg, so you can put either foot on the peg. And it fits pretty snugly onto the peg, so it holds it pretty well. But there you have it. HIYA Toys Exquisite Mini 1/18th scale Scotty from the 2009 Abrams verse. I do like the colors. And the other thing I wanted to point out, interestingly, and I don't know if it's just because they decided to do something different or if it's a change in the way that they're doing these. If you look, the actual plastic they're using for skin tones, and this light is a little bright to show, the plastic they're using for the skin is a little bit darker, which I think looks better for the figure, compared to the really light stuff they did on the Chris Pine Captain Kirk, which again was one of my issues with it, because I think that the portrait is there, but the paint lets it down. The paint here and the color of the plastic itself, I believe, it's darker and looks better for the character, for the figure. There you have it, Mr. Scott in the phaser belt today. Struggling to remember whether he actually wore or not in the movie. I don't believe I remember that ever actually happening. But, you know, accessories. Would have been nice to see some engineering accessories instead, although I didn't have many of those in that first movie either. But, you know, wishes are horses. And like I said, I really wanted to get one of each department color for display purposes. So yeah, those will look pretty good on the shelf. Again, I love the articulation. I would love to see the HIYA Toys attempt this with actual classic figures. I would love to see Shatner's, Kirk, Nimoy, Spock, Dew and Scotty, D. Kelly's McCoy in this same size and articulation. I think it would be really awesome. The other thing I think is going on with these, as happens with a lot of Star Trek anymore, is we get release after release after release of basically the same characters. Not that I'm objecting to having, you know, good sculpts, good figures of the Abrams verse, which we haven't really had up until now. But lately, Playmates back in the day, they did figures for everything. And their biggest problem was they were designed to be really rough and tumble for kids to play with, and such the articulation. The articulation was okay, but they're very chunky, very bulky, but also, you know, they're pretty tough, pretty long lasting. But I would like to see some of the later lines where we're getting into better sculpting, better articulation, really start coming out with more characters from across the Star Trek universe. You know, not just release the bridge crew time after time after time, but, you know, let's get some Romulans, let's get some Klingons, let's get some. I know that there was a Gorn released by Super 7. But, you know, even they just did a couple of, you know, we think these characters are going to be popular, onesie twosie kind of things. So I'd really love to see the universe, if these take off, and I hope they have. Again, the articulation on these is really good. The sculpting is decent. But I would love to see, that take off for them, and them have them produce a number of other figures from the universe. There's so much out there for Star Trek, just like Star Wars. You know, Star Wars has got 400 million aliens, not just the same 4 heroes every time. So I'd really love to see them go in that direction. You know, start producing the weird ones. Where's our Harry Mudd figure, right? So that would be pretty awesome if they continue in that vein. Anyway, thanks to all the new subscribers. I appreciate the vote of confidence. So if you enjoyed this, please feel free to like, comment. If you have any questions that I can answer, by all means, leave a comment, ask a question. Subscribe if you would like, and we will see you next time.